Hello everyone, my name is Edmund Danté Hamilton, but I go by Danté Hamilton. And today I am going to be talking about a building project that is something I've been working on for quite a long time now. And that building project is a digital printing center and a journalist and content creator co-working center. It's going to be located here in Chicago. I am working with an architect out of Nigeria that I found on Fiverr. And so I want to give you a little history about this project and how I got inspired to do this. So, first of all, I am a graphic designer, been in graphic design since high school. My business, Internet Webpages Newspaper, Inc., provides publishing, web design, and then also at this point virtual event. I used to do in-person event, but virtual event services. And so I've been in business since 1998, here legally in Chicago, corporate wise. And that's just a little bit of history about me. But I'm looking to scale my business and grow it. And so one of my goals in life has been to build my own building with my own equipment. And since I was in the co-working space for 11 years downtown, I decided to add a co-working component to the space. But before I get all of that, let me tell you how I came up with this idea. So there's some special equipment that's required, and that equipment is digital printing press for me to print newspapers, magazines, so forth. I needed to find a building to put this equipment in. And I looked around, looked at different places, and I realized there's no building that really fits my needs. So I decided I'm going to have to build one. So what you're looking at right here is I happen to be a fan of, I'm an Art Deco fan, so I love Art Deco architecture. But I'm also a modernist fan, and specifically ultra-modern. I love ultra-modern architectural design. So you're looking at Southern California Beach House, which was designed by MeierPartners Architects. It used to be Richard Meier and Associates, I believe, but I think they got rid of him, or he is no longer in the company or something, whatever happened. But Southern California Beach House was one of his creations that I think he did in association with another designer in the firm. And as you can see, some of this stuff is really futuristic looking, and I really love this. I love this. This house is actually real. It is built, and it sits on the beachfront there in California somewhere. I guess lakefront or oceanfront or something. I'm not a West Coast person, so don't quote me on that. But I really loved this house. I just thought that it was great. Not a big fan of white. I'm not completely one of these people that has to have all white anything. I'm not a big fan of that. But I really loved it. And I said to myself, wow, if I have a house, I would love to have it designed like the Southern California Beach House. And of course, naturally, I would like for it to be right on the beach. Ideally. But that's a whole different fantasy, and that's not the point that I want to discuss today. So, this is not how my building looks, just so you know. But it has some elements and some features of this, and I will get to that in a little bit. Okay, so you got an idea. This was my inspiration. Now, what I arrived at was a 2-story building that you can see this is very pixelated because this is JPEG that I got way back in 2009 from an architectural student that I met when I was in my first office downtown. Well, actually, I've been in more offices, but my office downtown that I moved into in 2009 called Office Port Chicago. So I was first tenant in there. I was in there 11 and a half plus years or 11 plus years. And I met this architectural student, and we hit it off, and she said, hey, I told him I'm a graphic designer. She says, I'm trying to learn how to do Adobe InDesign or Photoshop or something like that. I says, oh yeah, I know how to do that. And she says, well, would you be willing to train me? And I said, yeah. She says, well, I really can't pay you. I'm a student, that kind of thing. But maybe we could barter. And I said, well, what do you do? She says, well, I'm an architect, so I could, draw you a building. I was like, oh, this is perfect. So I got her to draw this 2-story building, which I told her I didn't have a plot of land. She asked me, that was her first question, where is it going to be built? I said, I have no land. So she says, okay. I said, I'm just looking for a rendering, and I told her I needed it to be 2 stories, printing center on the first floor and offices on the second, and I wanted it to be modernist and ultra modern in design. But just if you could just come up with something that's modernist, I was like, that'll work for me. And so this is what she came up with, and I was like, okay, this is great. So in 2009, I had this idea. I'd already been working on it, years before that, but it really came crystal clear when I met her. So this is what I wound up with in 2009. Now, let me show you where I went from there. And so from there, I went to the floor plan stage. The concept was in my mind that I'm going to build this building, and I got to come up with a concept for this building. So I needed to figure out what was going to be in the building and send that to the architect, ChrisAyoola Christopher, that's his name, Ayoola Christopher, on Fiverr. And on here it says drawn by ChrisAyoola, but I think his first name is Ayoola Christopher. I call him Chris. So I had Chris, met him on Fiverr. He's in Nigeria. I realized that I couldn't afford to have regular architects draw up a plan because I don't have that kind of cash. I'm a small business. And so I knew that the dollar compared to the Nigerian naira was to my benefit. So I was able to contract out with Mr. Chris to do these drawings. So here's what you're looking at. This first floor. First floor is a digital printing and periodical publishing center, and the brand for that is called personalizednewspaper.com. So the whole point of this digital printing and periodical publishing center is you can get a personalized newspaper published, printed, and mailed from this particular place. I won't go into what a personalized newspaper is and all of the technology behind that, because that's a whole nother video for another time. But suffice to say that I need specific digital printing equipment, folding equipment, mailing, space for mailing, and all of that in this space, as well as the design prep center, where people could come in just like you used to come in at Kinko's, print your resume up, and they print it out on the machines in the back, and you walk out. Yeah, but you sat down at their computer because maybe you didn't have a computer, you had your disk and you needed to make some revisions to it. Same thing here. So as you walk in the entrance, which is number one, you probably can't see it on the screen, but number one where the doorway is, there is number two, a reception area, there is a design preparation center, and then there's janitorial room right next to the conference room. All of that is kind of like in the first third of the building. As you walk into the building, there's also 2 elevators that take you up to all of the different floors. And so as you move through the building, there are general storage, utility room, there is a kitchen area, there's an owner's office, that's my office, number 13, and with a private bathroom, 14. There's also 2 restrooms. These are 9 and 10. And as you go into the bigger space area, the majority of the space is dedicated to the digital printing equipment, where I have a digital printing and finishing station, I have a mailing prep and shipping area, then I have some cooling units that relate to the digital printing equipment. There's also 2 stairways in the front and in the back that lead you up or downstairs. That is pretty much the building. There's a entryway out to take paper deliveries from the back, like the back area of the building, to get the paper rolls into the digital printing area. So that's the first floor. Now, in order to make this business or this building viable, I realized I had to have some income coming in outside of the digital printing. So I decided to build a co-working space on top of this place. And the co-working space is what I call JC4. And that's an acronym for Journalist and Content Creator Co-working Center. That is a specific place that I came up with. I had to come up with the layout. All of this is all conceptualized by me. I had to draw all of this stuff up. So that is something that, is completely out of my head. And I did a lot of research, blah, blah, blah. But this is what I came up with. So when you you get off the elevators, because you're on the second floor now. Get off the elevators. Immediately to your right of the elevators are 4 phone rooms, because central to co-working is you have to have privacy. What if your wife's calling saying, hey, you're late, you got to pick up the kids, and you're like, hey, wait a minute, I got a deadline. You don't want to be hollering, talking loud in an angry voice in a co-working center, because people will be disrupted and distracted. So the phone rooms, there's four phone rooms right next to the stairway. So when you come in off the elevator, there is another central element to this, which I know from experience. When I was in my co-working space downtown at Officeport, the people who worked there had their spouses and their children come and meet them there. So there has to be a children's lounge. So that's number 2. And of course, you need an adult lounge as well, because people might want to just put their kids over here, and you might be somewhere else talking to some adults. And so there's another lounge, item number 3. Number 4, there is a business center there, and that is where the office copier, paper cutter, and you get your deliveries and all that other stuff is going to be in that room. Now, the target audience for this second floor is journalism people who are creating digital news ventures, people who are creating print news ventures, news people who might be broadcast news, freelancers, roving broadcasters that might be in from another country, another state. They need a touchdown location, that type of thing. So that's one component. But there's also the component for influencers who are mainly content creators. So you have your micro influencers and you have your regular influencers. And so this is for them. But there's also other components to content creation, such as web development. That's another area of content creation. People develop websites. They're content creators. So in this particular center, you have room for all of those players, as well as a set of private suites. There's not this. Again, this center is intimate. It's not your big WeWork monstrosity. This is a intimate center for people who are wanting to get out of their apartment. Like me, I work from home now. I'm no longer downtown. Work from home, and I want to go to a center and work and be around other people and feel that vibe. And in particular, this particular center is targeted at Black, Indigenous, people of color, BIPOC, news entrepreneurs like myself. And so anyone is welcome to participate in this, but my target audience is BIPOC journalists, BIPOC content creators. And so you have 5 and 6 are influencer private suites. So if you're an influencer and you want a private suite away from the crowd, that's for you. We also have 2 restrooms on this floor. There is a web developer studio that seats 4 people. We have also something that I noticed being in a co-working center is that when people had like special events, everything was out in the open. And so people would kind of just, walk by and be interrupting people. Well, I decided in this facility, I wanted to have the ability for people to have a private dining experience. So there's a private dining room with an LCD screen, and it has 8 seats in it. So yeah, it's right next to the kitchen. And the kitchen also has a cafe in it, which seats 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 14 people. So it's not a small cafe. It's not a big area, but it's nice enough size for people to kind of mingle, get their food out the refrigerator, and all of that stuff. Now, moving along, central to this is a content creator co-working center. So I got to have some tools in there and some rooms in there for people to create content. So I have a photo studio, which is number 13. I have video studio. 15 and 16, I have 2 podcast studios, 2-seaters. So you're going to have, you and your other podcast co-hosts. And I got 2 of those rooms. I have a micro influencer hot desk. So if you're a micro influencer, you're not able to really have a suite of your own because you don't make that much money or you're just not at that scale yet, then you could be along with other micro influencers. There's 2 suites, so there's 8 different seats for that. I have a conference room, which is large. It has a 8-seat conference table with an additional 6 seats around the perimeter, LCD screen, sliding door entrance. And I also have, central to this whole concept, a journalist co-working breaking news room. So if you are a digital journalist or a broadcast journalist and you need to stay up on the latest news, there are some dual monitors in that room where you can kind of monitor what's going on and then do your deal there. And I also have a journalist co-working team newsroom that is a 5-seater station for like a team operation. They might be working on the latest edition of their print publication, magazine, or digital, or even some broadcasts. And then also very, very important not to be left out is everyone's on Zoom. Everyone's on Google Meet, Teams, and all of those different platforms. But when you're in an interview situation with a journalist, you need to have a quiet space where you can go take a phone call, get online, and talk to your recipient or your person that you're interviewing. So I got 2 rooms that are virtual meeting and interview rooms. When you want to get away from all of this, I tease you with a billiard room and a bar. And it's a teaser because on the roof of this space is a more expanded area. But before we get there, there is a basement. And the basement is underneath the first floor, obviously. And that is for the Digital Printing and Periodical Center. Mainly, this space is expansion space, but it also is for the items that are on the rooftop where I need to store those items, and I'll get to that in a moment. This particular basement space is a mirror image of the first floor. There's no printing equipment, but there is a digital workstation, there's a conference room, there's office, storage, kitchen, bathrooms, and the elevators and all of that stuff. So it's almost a carbon copy of the first floor. It's just no printing equipment in there. There's no mailing room. There is no paper storage area. Other than that, it's almost identical. But let me show you the gem of the building. The gem of the building is the rooftop. So when I envisioned this building, I envisioned a rooftop where there is a partial building interior, but there's also an open air component. And I wanted to be able to have 2 because during the winter, I want people to still be able to get away from their co-working offices and go upstairs and just kind of get away from the work area. And so up in the interior portion of the rooftop area, there is a multi-purpose room. This room could be configured for like a special event, a party, some type of reception or something like that. It's not a big space, but it's big enough for you to have a small team, small group meeting. It's 250 square feet. So in addition to that, there's a real open lounge space area that's similar to what you found on the second floor. And that's kind of like a lounge area specific to the multi-purpose room. So it gives you some additional, space if you're having a party in that room and people might want to not be enclosed. They can come out and sit down, take the drinks, that type of thing. There's 2 bars, 2 3-seat bars to the right there. You also have a reception station to receive people right off the elevator. There's 2 bathrooms. Of course, we have a prep kitchen and a utility and storage area. And then that comprises half of the rooftop space on the rooftop floor, which is technically the 3rd floor. But the open air component is where I really, and when you see this, wait till you see this rendering. I really love this space. This is the open air component, and it has 2 bars. It has a 6-seat table, 2 couches, 2 sofas, and 2 L-shaped sofas. There's also the umbrella tables with 4 seats. There's 2 of those. I have some intimate seating, which is also kind of like a sitting area where there's just 2 seats across from each other on each side. So you have 4 there with tables. So I think that is pretty much it. And you're probably wondering, okay, so this is the rendering. This is floor plan Danté. How does this actually look? All right, so remember I told you I wanted something that was ultra modern, that was resembling the building that I originally had, which is right here. That's my original concept. But let me show you what I arrived at from the Nigerian Architect, Chris. Now, it doesn't even look like it's a building where it would be an office, right? It looks like it could be maybe a mansion, or it could be like some other type of space, like, I don't know, what is it, right? But you have to go back and forth and look at the windows. See the windows? Those windows were the central element of the building. And so he kept those there. And so this is the front portion. So I love how he has these lights in there. This reminds me the architecture, the way he's got the lighting, the way he's got the design reminds me I look at a lot of Nigerian movies, and so some of the houses have some of these elements in them. Not exactly this, but they have some of these elements. And so I know that there's some Nigerian architectural flavor in here, which I really love. And these lights could be turned different colors, like breast cancer month. They could be pink, they could be red, white, and blue for Independence Day, Christmas time, they could be red and green, so forth and so on. Let me give you another view so you can kind of see how he really included those windows. Again, I'll show you this original drawing and how he expanded upon those. Original drawings, I got windows everywhere, right? And he kept the glass door, sliding door, and all that stuff. So here are the windows again. And as you can see, there's a 3rd level that's like half of the building interior. And let me give you another view, another side view, so you can kind of see that backspace area where the rooftop is. You can see it kind of like it's peeking out at you a little bit. So that is the front part. Let me show you the rooftop. So the rooftop, remember the drawing that I just showed you? There you go. The PDF of the rooftop. Remember this? All right. So now let me show you how that looks in the rendering. That's the same thing right there. Now, the reason that these renderings have Fiverr over them, because I contracted Chris through Fiverr, and these are not the final renderings, so I haven't taken delivery on them. When you take delivery on your project from your Fiverr person, the Fiverr watermarks are removed because you take final delivery, so you have the final items. These are not the final drawings. There's modifications being made as I speak. But this is the rooftop. This is like, an aerial view of the rooftop. So let me show you another view. This is more of the 3D vision of what you saw on this drawing right here. All right, so if you take a look at this, and you take a look at that, that is what you're looking at. I think this is ultimately super ultra modern, looks, has the features that I like. I love the wood. I like how he included the plants and the greenery. Yeah, I really like this. It looks ultra modern. And so I am in love with this. Now let me give you a different view. And this is our final view before I wrap this up. This is the backside area of the building. As you can see, has those elements from the Southern California beach house, the railing, kind of like the little canopy, like the wings of the building, like the building's getting ready to take off, go into the metaverse. And by the way, the building will be built here in Chicago, but prior to it being built, I am launching a metaverse version of the building. That will be a place where an avatar version of yourself can engage with the second floor and the rooftop elements. The printing in the basement area will be activated in another iteration of the metaverse, but the metaverse is coming in Q2 2022. So in Q2 I will have the metaverse version of the building, and I will be using Chris and his firm to make that metaverse happen. So to have a special domain, it'll be hosted on our own servers and so forth and so on. So we're working on that right now. So before the building is built, I will have a metaverse version of the second floor and the rooftop, and people can start to build community and get engaged with this whole project. So I want to end this here because it's a really long, drawn out video, and I'm sure it's probably about a half an hour, and most people probably won't listen this long, but if you do, you'll have the full aspect. So I gotta edit this, put it up on my website. You can look for these videos and these drawings to be on IWN JC4.com and personalizednewspaper.com. Thank you for listening, and stay tuned for more in our next upcoming update, which will probably be about the metaverse.